Okay, Year 7, welcome to Length and Perimeter. We're going to start having a look at this new unit today, and we're going to begin by looking at length. We're going to look at the metric system and different units of measure. Then we're going to look at scales and how we measure by using different scales. And then finally, we're going to have a look at converting between different units of length. So, I want you to write down this heading, length, and then I also want you to write down the statement here on the screen, and it says to measure different units, guys, we use the metric system. Now the metric system is just a way of classifying different units of length, and we use these names: kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters. Now when we're looking at different objects and when we're looking to measure the length of different objects, we have to select the most appropriate unit to measure it in. So, we have some pictures below here. We have a stretch of road on here on our left, then we have a pencil case, we have a gap beneath the door, and we have a desk. Now, each of these objects marries up to an appropriate unit. When we're looking at the road, if we're measuring a long stretch of road, you see this road goes from here all the way into the horizon. Kilometers would be the most effective unit of measure. When we're looking at a pencil case, if you look at your pencil case there on your table, most of you would have a pencil case that is less than a metre. If you have a pencil case that's more than a metre, it must be pretty tricky for you to get around. However, most of the time, the most appropriate unit of measure for a pencil case would be in centimetres. That's how we would measure the length of a pencil case. Finally, when we're looking at a desk is usually measured in metres. Most desks, guys, are more than 1 metre. Therefore, when we're giving the length of a desk, we give it in metres. Finally, the tiny gap between a door, or the gap between the door and the floor, or the door and the crease, would usually be measured in millimetres. Okay, most of the time. Sometimes it can be a little bit more, it might be a centimetre, but most of the time, guys, it will be measured in millimetres. Now, when we look at scales of measure and length, a scale can be used, guys, to measure different amounts of the same type of quantity. So what I need you to do is I need you to pop this heading into your book and also this statement here. But mainly I want you to listen up to what I'm saying, because what I'm talking about here, guys, is really important. When we're looking at scale and when we're reading different scales, what we need to realise and what the important thing you need to look at is work out what each interval represents. What each interval represents. So let's have a look here, guys, at our bottom ruler here. Okay, and it's split up into 13 intervals. We start at 0 and we go to 13. Now, like I just said to you, the most important thing to do when looking at scales is to realise the division between the different units. So this is going up in units of 1 centimetre. We can tell here that it's split up into 1 centimetre. We know this because we look here at the ruler and it's labelled in centimetres and it's going up by 1 centimetre. So if you were asked to look at this ruler and say how many centimetres is being measured on this scale, we would be saying it's 5 centimetres because our arrow starts at 0 and it ends at 5. Same with this one below. It's going up in centimetres again. But the other thing you guys need to also look at is that it's also divided in millimetres. So between each big division of centimetres, we also have 10 little millimetres. So if we were to look at this scale here, we would go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So it would be 7.3 centimetres because it goes up to the 7 and then there's 3 millimetres. That's the most important thing when you're looking at scale, no matter what it is. You need to understand how much each interval represents. So these big intervals were 1 centimetres, these little intervals were 1 millimetre. That's all it is. Again, guys, let's have a look here. When we're looking at this measuring jug, for example, the big intervals are going up by 50 mils. Sorry, I'll draw this on here. Are going up by 50 mils. So it goes 50, 100, 150, 200. So there's a 50 mil difference. But if you look in between here, we also have other smaller intervals. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of the smaller intervals represents 10 millilitres because we have 50 millilitres between the big intervals and 10 millimeters between the little intervals. So our first thing here, I, that would be 50, and then we go up by 10, 60, 70 milliliters. Then when we look at this one, it'd be 110 milliliters. And then when we look at this one, it'd be 190 milliliters. It's just a matter of looking at the scale and seeing the difference between the intervals. That's all it is, guys. Again, you do the same thing here. It's just a matter of looking, okay, we're going up in 10 degrees. Each of the big intervals represents 10. Each of the little intervals represents 1. And it's a matter of identifying those three things. Finally, when converting between units of length, I again need you to write this as a heading. I'm writing the information we have here. So it says the main units of length are related as follows. So we're looking at our main units of length: kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. That's what we're looking at. They're related this way. 1,000 meters equals a kilometer. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So if we have 1 kilometer, and we want to find out how many meters that is, we need to times it by 1,000. Because we have 1 kilometer, we're going from a big unit to a small unit, and we want to find out how many meters that is, we times it by 1,000. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. If we want to find out, we have maybe say, I don't know, 2 meters. And we want to find out what that is in centimeters. We have 2 meters. Okay, and we want to find that how many centimeters that is. We need to times it by 100, because there is 100 centimeters in a meter, and it becomes 200 centimeters. So 2 meters, oops, that was a bit of a weird M. 2 meters equals 200 centimeters. Then finally, guys, the very last example, if we have, say, I don't know, 3 centimeters. If we have 3 centimeters, and I'm asking 3 centimeters, how many millimeters is that? We need to times it by 10. So we'd get 30 millimeters. Okay, because there is 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. If I have 3 centimeters, I have 30 millimeters. However, if we go the reverse way, if I say, for example, I have 2,000 meters, and I want to find out what that is in kilometers, I need to divide it by 1,000. Okay, I need to divide by 1,000 because I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. I have the smaller unit. I have the measurement in a smaller unit, and I'm going to a larger unit. We know that there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So we're expecting to find an answer of 2 kilometers. There is 2,000 meters, 2 kilometers. Same stuff, guys. And it's just a matter of that. You need to draw this diagram, this kilometers, meters, centimeters with the arrows. Draw that into your book. You can use that as a scale. It will very much help you to be able to answer the questions. So make sure you draw this. Make sure you have this writing and that heading. Okay, thanks guys.